She is wearing a seductive, ruffled dress that showed her long, pretty legs. She smells of rosewater and cheap perfume. She laughs at a cowboy's joke, steers him toward the bar, and within 20 minutes has emptied his wallet without him even noticing. That woman is not what Hollywood told you she was, not even close. The Wild West saloon girl is one of the most misunderstood figures in American history. She was not simply a pretty backdrop to a poker game. She was a strategist, a survivor, and in many cases, the most economically powerful woman in a 50-mile radius. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on 10 sinful, shocking, and brutally real facts about saloon girls that Hollywood has quietly buried for over a century. Number 1. She was not a prostitute. She was a professional con artist. Let us get the biggest myth out of the way first. Most saloon girls were not prostitutes. Their job was to dance, sing, flirt, and most importantly, sell drinks. But here is where it gets clever. When a cowboy bought a drink for a saloon girl, she was not actually drinking whiskey. She was sipping cold tea or plain-colored sugar water poured into a shot glass. The customer was charged full whiskey price, anywhere from 10 to 75 cents a shot, and the girl pocketed a cut of every single one. A popular girl could average 50 dances in a single night, steering each man straight to the bar afterward. Some nights, she earned more than a working man made in an entire month. She was running a hustle, and every man in the room thought he was the one in control. Number 2. The dress was a weapon. That short, ruffled, brightly colored skirt was not just fashion. It was a calculated tool. East of the Missouri River, no respectable establishment would have allowed a woman to show her ankles in public, let alone her knees. But out west, those skirts cut to mid-shin were considered scandalous, and that was precisely the point. Saloon owners required their girls to dress that way because visible skin kept men drinking longer. The petticoats were deliberately colorful, the boots adorned with tassels, the faces painted with rouge and kohl. These were work uniforms, expensive ones, and the women were expected to maintain them out of their own wages. The glamour was not free. It was a business expense. Number 3, she came from a respectable family. Probably. Most saloon girls were refugees from farms or mills, lured by posters and handbills advertising high wages, easy work, and fine clothing. Many were widows with children to feed. Others were daughters of failed homesteaders who had watched their families lose everything to drought or debt. The frontier offered women almost no legitimate career paths. You could be a laundress, a seamstress, or a school teacher for poverty wages, or you could step into a saloon and earn $10 a week plus commission. For a woman in 1875 with no husband and no land, that was not a moral failing. That was arithmetic. The women who became saloon girls were not ruined. They were pragmatic, and many of them were deeply ashamed of what they did, quietly sending money home to their mothers every single month. Number 4. There was a strict hierarchy, and it was brutal. Not all women working in and around saloons were equal, and the pecking order was vicious. At the top were the saloon girls, the dancers and drink sellers who considered themselves respectable working women and would not be caught dead associating with the women below them. Below them were the parlor house girls, found in brothels usually run by former prostitutes turned madams. Below them were the saloon girls who had crossed into prostitution. At the very bottom were the crib girls, women living in tiny wooden shacks on the outskirts of town, often older, often addicted to laudanum, a liquid mixture of opium and alcohol, trading whatever they had left for $1 or less. The women at the top looked down at the women at the bottom with a contempt that mirrored the respectable society that had already written all of them off. The frontier was supposed to be lawless and free. For women, it mostly just replicated the same cruelties in dirtier conditions. Number 5. She could get you thrown out, beaten, or shot. In most Western towns, any man who mistreated a saloon girl was quickly deemed an outcast. If he insulted one, he risked being shot and killed. The saloon owner enforced this rule for the same reason a businessman today hires security. She was the product. Damage the product, lose the customers. A good saloon girl was protected inside those walls in ways she absolutely was not on the street. Bouncers watched the room. Owners had financial incentives to keep the girls safe. Outside those walls, that protection vanished completely. The line between the saloon door and the dirt street was the difference between relative safety and genuine danger. Number 6. Pregnancy could kill her. The treatment might kill her faster. This is where the history gets genuinely dark. The Comstock Act of 1873 banned birth control information and materials across the United States, leaving women in the West scrambling for alternatives. They were douched with alum, quinine, lemon juice, and baking soda. Some made concoctions from Chinese herbs, and others used quicksilver, which is mercury, and arsenic. Boston University archaeologists excavating a 19th century brothel found syringe fragments. Research confirmed that women at these sites used similar syringes to inject mercury, arsenic, and vinegar into the body to induce abortions or treat diseases. The treatment for syphilis, which was rampant and called the calamity by those who had it, also involved mercury compounds that caused violent sweating, salivation, and, in high enough doses, poisoning. Women were being slowly killed by the remedies as much as by the diseases, and none of it was ever reported, because under the law, none of it was supposed to be happening. Number 7. The most successful ones owned the town. Here is the fact that truly never makes it into the movies. The smartest saloon girls didn't stay saloon girls. They saved, they observed. They learned who held power, and then they took it. The most successful women were the ones who became owners. Female saloon owners sat at the center of every deal made in their establishments. Politicians loosened their tongues over the bar. Land deals were negotiated over card tables. A woman who controlled that room controlled information, and information on the frontier was worth more than gold. These women didn't just survive the Wild West. They ran significant portions of it, quietly, without a single vote or legal right to their name. Number 8. Marriage was the pink slip. Hollywood loves the image of the saloon girl with a heart of gold who finally lands the right cowboy and rides off into the sunset. The reality was that marriage ended her career immediately. Many former soiled doves found they could actually make more money as dance hall girls. Saloon owners generally fired women upon marriage because a married woman had divided loyalties and a husband who might cause trouble. The women who worked those floors knew this. Some of them chose the income over the proposal again and again. That was not a tragedy. That was a calculated decision made by women who understood exactly what security actually looked like when the law gave them almost none of it. Number 9. Not every saloon wanted her there. The image of the saloon girl as a universal frontier fixture is also not accurate. In heavily regulated districts like the north side of Front Street in Dodge City, Kansas, saloon girls and gambling were outright banned. Those establishments competed on music, billiards, and the quality of the drink alone. In some towns, local temperance movements and church groups held enough influence to keep women entirely out of the licensed drinking establishments. The frontier was not one uniform culture. It was dozens of competing cultures running on different rules, different tolerances, and very different ideas about what a woman was allowed to do in public. A saloon girl who thrived in Tombstone might have found herself arrested in the next county. Number 10. She was called by many names. None of them were kind. Painted lady, soiled dove, sporting woman. These were the polite terms. The less polite ones were worse. Language was used to place these women permanently outside the category of those worth protecting or respecting. And yet the same men who used those words spent their wages in her establishment, danced with her until midnight, and told her things they had never told their wives. She absorbed the loneliness of the frontier. She kept the saloon profitable, the owner wealthy, and the town functioning. She was indispensable and disposable in the same breath. The next time you watch a Western and see a saloon girl draped across a piano laughing at a man's joke with a glass of whiskey in her hand, remember what you now know. That whiskey is probably cold tea. That laugh is work. And she has already calculated exactly how much money she will have made by the time the piano player stops. The smoke hangs thick in the room. The floorboards are sticky with sawdust and spilled liquor. And she is watching the door, already sizing up the next man walking in.